How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today we're talking about how you can beat the average investor, and more importantly, how much buying pressure is coming into crypto from the sources that we already know about and from some that are going to be kicking up here probably pretty soon. Now, this is just to kind of wrap your head around how these numbers work. This is not an all-inclusive list of every big company that's buying Bitcoin or all the big companies that could, or trying to even guess how much everyone's going to be buying in the future. But I think it is important to understand how this all works. If you don't mind, hit subscribe, turn on that bell notification underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this one. And let's start. So if you want to know what I'm buying, by the way, there's a link down there to the Patreon. So MicroStrategy just bought another $150 million worth of Bitcoin. We have news about Tether buying a lot of Bitcoin to back USD stablecoin. We have news about countries consistently buying. We have so much going on. And the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges is going down. So it is this interesting thing where as the amount on exchanges continues to go down, the swings should be much more violent to the upside. If people come in to buy, they're going to have a hard time buying because there's less and less on exchanges. We can see here in 2020, there's 3.2 million Bitcoin on exchanges. Now, 3 years later, we only have about 2/3 of that amount, 2.3 million Bitcoin. So let's take a look at this. MicroStrategy, since they started buying Bitcoin, they bought about $4.68 billion worth. So that's a lot of buying. They've been doing this over about 37 months, which means they bought on average $126.5 million worth of Bitcoin every single month. Isn't that crazy? Just to think about that for a second. $126 million worth of Bitcoin. So when they buy this, right, they buy this every single month. They sometimes announce after a couple months that they bought. Sometimes they do it more at one time, but on average, this is what we get. The impact on market cap is actually larger than this 126 million. So when you buy an asset, it makes it less scarce, and it causes the market cap to go up faster than what you actually bought. So like when you buy any asset, let's say you buy Apple, it's at $3 trillion market cap. There hasn't been $3 trillion worth of people buying into that company at that point. So people are in the profit. That's how you get profit. When you buy, it makes the market cap move up faster than whatever you buy that amount of. So depending on how liquid the asset is and some other factors too, it can cause the market cap to go up multiples of what you actually put in. So what we've seen with Bitcoin with larger buys can be somewhere around a 20x multiple. So when they buy $126 million worth of Bitcoin, it can move up the market cap about $2.5 billion. Now, of course, some people would say, well, they're not actually buying from people that are selling. They're not taking it off of exchanges. They're doing like OTC deals, which doesn't move up the market as much. So keep that in mind that this is just a general thought process behind it. Keep in mind though that when they buy this, it means that someone else isn't selling on the market. So even if the market cap doesn't go up, well, it also doesn't go down when someone just dumps $126 million worth of Bitcoin on the market. So impact on market cap is about $2.5 billion, which the impact on price every month is only $130, which is pretty interesting. Keep in mind though, that's every single month. So throughout the year, they probably push up the price about $1,500 or $1,600. Now, again, these are general numbers. Take them with a grain of salt. But this is also true of Tether. Tether has said that they plan on buying about 15% of their profits in Bitcoin. So they profited about $1.48 billion in the last year. So they bought probably 222 million. Now, I don't think they're holding themselves too closely to that number, that 15%. But if this is true, the impact on price would be about 4.4 billion, which would put about $228 of impact on the price of Bitcoin. So this would be the impact on market cap, is that 4.44 billion. Now, you might be saying these are really small numbers, but keep in mind this is every single year. So 10 years down the line, well, MicroStrategy could have pushed up Bitcoin's price by $15,000. Now here comes the big one. we have so many large asset managers trying to get in and offer Bitcoin to different households. Right now, the households in the US are 131 million. Percentage of households with retirement accounts, about 50%. 80% of them are actually buying assets still, instead of just drawing on assets. So households buying assets, about 52.48 million. So the average salary, let's say it's $100,000 for someone that's buying assets in a 401k with a savings rate of about 10%. That means assets being bought about $525 billion each year, plus dividends reinvested. So if they go and put 3% into Bitcoin, that could cause about $15.7 billion worth of buying pressure, which could impact the market cap about $315 billion. So impact on price could be $16,000. That's each year. Keep in mind, we're making a lot of assumptions, right? We're assuming that they're going to move 3% towards Bitcoin. I've talked about how I think the most bullish thing isn't necessarily even the spot ETF. It will send up the price. But I think the most bullish thing is when we start to see target date funds or retirement portfolios start to include Bitcoin and the spot ETF in their retirement accounts, because that means that people would just be buying without even thinking. They're just buying every 2 weeks with their paychecks coming in, which could cause a lot of pressure on Bitcoin. And some people think that this would cause a much larger impact on Bitcoin's price because so much will be being bought up, and a lot of people want to buy ahead of that, but so much will be bought up that people might not be able to get their hands on any, and they'll be paying much higher prices because it's so illiquid. So instead of a 20x multiple, it could be 30x or even higher. So this is where it starts to get kind of crazy. This is just in the US. This isn't accounting for everyone across the world. This isn't accounting for countries putting this in their reserves. It's just some retirement accounts, a couple different companies. It can cause a lot of buying pressure. Now at this point, Treasury yields are high. People are going risk off. People don't know if we're hitting recession. So we're not seeing some of this buying pressure come into effect. Keep in mind, Bitcoin is up a lot this year, over 60% from the lows, but we're not quite exploding by any means. It's not like a lot of people think that we're going to go up $20,000 each year or anything like that. People aren't chomping at the bit to get into Bitcoin right now because there are always short-term problems. There are always things that people are worried about. But if you're someone that wants to get your hands on Bitcoin, how do you beat just this average person in a retirement account? Well, there are a lot of ways of doing it. Obviously, one of the most important things is having a bigger shovel, having more income. That can cause you to be able to save a lot more. But let's say your income's the same as that last scenario. If you had $100,000 worth of income, I think obviously one of the biggest things you can do is just bump up your savings rate. If you can get 20% instead of 10%, you're going to be able to save a lot more money, invest a lot more money. You could also move up 3% Bitcoin allocation to 10%. If you're watching this video, you're probably pretty bullish on Bitcoin. So maybe you want to put 10% of your assets moving forward in Bitcoin, or even 10% in the past going towards Bitcoin. So you'd be able to buy about $2,000 each year instead of in this last scenario, this person would be buying, the average person, maybe a 3% allocation, so about $300. So much less than in this scenario. So you'd be able to buy about 0.076 Bitcoin. So after about 4 years, you would have more than the average millionaire on earth could ever buy. So it's just an interesting way of thinking about it. Of course, do your own due diligence. I'm not saying that we're going to continue to see Tether MicroStrategy buying. I think that's probably the case. I'm not saying that just starting this year, everyone's going to be buying Bitcoin and it's going to go up to 42,000 just because of retirement accounts. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying you can kind of process how this is going to work if you look at some of the numbers and run through them. Let me know if you like this. I'll make future videos like this as well. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.